Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Okay, everybody's ready? Eric, you all set?
I am set.
Becky? Robert? Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of Dalton Select Board to order. Please note this is being recorded by Zoom for the purpose of taking minutes in Dalton Cable TV. All those able, please rise for the pledge. And Tony, would you read us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brittany, would you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Mark Stroud.
Here.
Tony Pagliarulo.
Here.
John Moyle.
Here.
Our Chair Robert Bishop.
Here.
Town Manager Mike Anderson.
Here.
Steve Sustainable.
Okay, first on the agenda, item 4, minutes of December 15th, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of December 15, 2025 as presented.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further corrections or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, this is a time the public may address the board on any item or listed on the meeting agenda or any issue or matter of the town. If you intend to comment on an item listed on the meeting agenda, please do so at this time. The public address to the board segment will last no longer than 30 minutes. Each individual will be given up to 3 minutes. If you intend on addressing the board, we ask you do the following. Please raise your hand to be recognized by the board chair. Please step up to the podium and speak into the microphone. Please identify yourself by name, address, or the company/institution you represent. Please address your comments to the board chair. Please make your comments concise and try not to repeat statements made by others. Discussion or debate on any issue may not take place at this time. The chair or the designee may answer questions on procedural matters. Is there anyone that would like to speak on any items? Jimbo? Go ahead.
Okay, keep it
Jim Otis, 10 Renee Drive. I'm also a member of the Dalton Clean Air Coalition. Mr. Chairman, when Berkshire Concrete meets with the planning board to petition for their special permit, they always have their lawyer do the talking. He cites grandfather practices and this bylaw and that bylaw that do not apply. He says the omission of parcel R516 from the permit for 3 years was a clerical error. In meetings with town officials, the residents have been clamoring for action by the town boards to address the grievances with the sand and dust invading their properties. The need for effective legal representation was identified as needed to contest Berkshire Concrete's claims and to clarify the town's legal footing on this issue. Well, I remember board member Mark Stroud agreed and said he wanted us to hire a bulldog for this job. In the May 27th Select Board meeting, the warrant for the special town meeting was put forward. Article 5 was to provide money toward town council. I typed this up real fast. Article 5 was about allocating money to get town council and technical support to assist the town in addressing these issues. And a minimum of $100 at $350 an hour. And Mr. Boyle moved to accept the warrant for the special town meeting and on July 9th as presented, and Mr. Pagliarulo seconded it, and all were in favor. The June 9th special town meeting was rescheduled to the 26th, where Article 5 was passed with none opposed.
Absolutely.
Later we learned that town's regular counsel was given this task. He has been less than effective and disengaged. At the recent public hearing by the planning board regarding Berkshire Concrete's special permit, he was unprepared to answer questions we had in reference to Berkshire Concrete's permit application and their claims about the applicability of certain bylaws. The questions they discussed last week were not new. These were issues the attorney should have been prepared to answer definitively and in depth. The planning board would not have needed a continuance if they had been given proper guidance. Board member Tony Pegley-Rulo has told us that the town was also working with a litigator within the firm where the town council works, KP Law in Boston. We are unclear as to why they would not have that person at the meetings, as from what I understood, they have more experience in this particular area. We with the Dalton Clean Air Coalition asked the town to work with a different attorney who is specialized in this area and who will be present at future hearings. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any comments?
No, I'm sorry. From you, or?
Go ahead, Pat.
I just wanted to back up what he said. Most, a good number of our group feels the same way about the services we receive from the town's present attorney that's met at these meetings.
Okay, so you want more involvement.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Chair's allowed me.
Yes.
Just to be clear, the very first meeting, we did have two attorneys present, female Deborah, I cannot remember her last name, and Alex, who attended the first and this one. So she is the litigator. So I just want to be clear, you're asking the litigator to step up at this juncture?
We'd like somebody that's experienced in looking at town bylaws as pertaining to mining and stuff, and these claims that Berkshire Concrete's lawyers are putting up that, oh, this bylaw doesn't apply because of this and that. We would like some definitive answers from our town attorneys.
Some more proactive.
Yes, more engagement.
Okay.
Tony, I'm gonna ask you to work with Eric to talk to our lawyers on that, okay?
Sure.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, anyone else? Okay, appointments.
Mr. Chairman, I move that Emma Carkhuff be appointed recording secretary pending results of pre-employment physical and drug screening.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Is Emma in attendance on Zoom?
I do not believe so. Oh, yes, she is.
Okay.
Emma, would you like to address the Board of Selectboard? Apparently not.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for stepping up. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Okay, so are we. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome aboard.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I move that James Patrick Carsell be appointed to the Board of Health effective immediately through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pat, thank you for stepping up for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. You, with your experience, you have had quite a bit to that board. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you recuse yourself on this?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna recuse.
Vice Chair,
You want me to say it to you? I'll make the motion, John.
go ahead.
Yeah, and then I motion that Robert Bishop be appointed to the Dalton Cable Association Board of Directors effective immediately through December 31st, 2028.
Second.
So, John,
You gotta move it, John.
you have to move it, John.
Oh,
You're the chair.
I move that Robert Bishop be appointed to the Dalton, I got confused there. He be appointed to the Dalton Cable Association Board of Directors effective immediately through December 31st, 2028. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Right, thank you.
Congratulations.
Well,
Another job for you.
Yeah. Hey, we're getting
Mr.
close.
Chairman, I move that Jeffrey Ellis be appointed to the Conservation Commission effective immediately through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That gives the commission a full board. so that's good. Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. Okay, number 7, presentation by Syncon Plastics regarding expansion plans. I believe David, Alan, and his son are here. If you would come up to the podium.
I give these to you guys.
Absolutely.
This is just a copy of the draft TIF agreement along with some other information about.
You guys have everybody?
Hopefully.
Yep.
Unless I kind of.
One guy's missing. That's why.
Oh,
Witness.
I'll let you, I'll stand next to you, but you can start.
So thanks for having us. I'm Rob, this is my dad, David. And we've been in Dalton since about 2010, 16 years, which is hard to believe now. So, as you guys know, we're trying to get this TIF agreement, which is some tax incentive thing, but just a quick background on Syncon. Syncon was founded by a guy named Tony Sr., or that's Tony Sinico. I knew him as Tony Sr. He founded Syncon in 1968, and just kind of getting a little bit at kind of the character of Syncon. He was a guy, he dropped out of school in the 8th grade to help support his family in the Great Depression. Worked on a dairy farm in 1968. He founded Syncon, owned that for 20 years with his son, Tony Jr. In 1989, my dad kind of, I don't know if you caught wind or there was an advertisement that Syncon was for sale. He had never worked there before, never worked in a plastic shop, and basically just met Tony, and the two of them hit it off. He and his son became good friends, and Tony Sr. continued to work for my dad for 20 years until he was 90 years old. So that's just kind of part of the character, I think, of Syncon, which I think aligns really well with Dalton, which is very family-oriented, big in the community as well. So we were in Pittsfield, and then in 2009, he bought the old OPA building on Depot Street, fully renovated that, and in 2010, we moved in. And since then, I think when we moved to Dalton, we had about 20 employees. From 2010 to 2019, we grew to about 40 employees. And then at the end of 2019, we purchased a machine shop. And then in 2021, purchased another machine shop. And those are in Pittsfield and Lenox. So we're hoping to grow the business in Dalton. We'd like to put an expansion on the building. It's currently 35,000 square feet. We'd like to add another 35,000 square feet. And that will help bring 20 more people into Dalton, which are all good, well-paying, skilled machining jobs. And a few of the people that work in Pittsfield and Lenox live in and around Dalton, so it'll be closer to their homes. I know they'll be happy. So we're just here to kind of present the TIF agreement, which my dad can probably talk a little more about. But we're super happy to be in Dalton, and we'd like to be here for a while longer. I have a 3-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter now, and my son actually had a snow day today, so he came in and he was at the shop all morning walking around having fun, thanking people for coming to work on a snow day. So he enjoys it already. So, thank you.
Okay, I'm David. So in your package is a TIF agreement. It's modeled after the one that we signed with Dalton in 2013. It's just been updated. It also was sent to Paul St. Pierre, is at the office of Massachusetts Office of Business Development. They reviewed it and gave me some editorial changes to make. I have a highlighted one here. I'll just kind of walk you through it. On the first page, 4th paragraph down, the additions is approximately a $5 million project. And then we expect to also bring about $1 million more of new equipment into the building. If you turn to the next page, current assessment of the building, of the property yields about $30,000 worth of taxes into Dalton. We expect that, based on some calculations I did, to go up another $20,000 or $25,000, based on the new assessed value of the building. The purpose of the TIF agreement is to phase in that additional tax increase that occurs because of our investment in the building and the equipment. So Dalton doesn't lose anything from what it's currently getting. That's always a confusion that happens when people hear about a TIF agreement. They think that the company is paying less taxes, but that's not the case. We pay the same amount we've been paying, and we phase in the increase. And we set this one up just the way it was agreed for the last 2 times. The first year, there's no increase, and then each year, it goes up by 20%. Down below that, it talks about the jobs. So we're bringing in 20 jobs here, but in terms of creating new jobs, we're projecting 5 new jobs. It'll probably be more than that, but we don't want to over-promise, because then you can get in trouble if that doesn't work. There's really nothing on page 4 that's any different. It's just a lot of boilerplate stuff, and that's really the key here. So we're talking about a $5 million investment in property, a $1 million investment in equipment, the creation of at least 5 jobs over the first 2 years of the project. You know, at this point, 2025 is a record year. We expect 2026 to also be a record year. We're see a lot of growth coming. This will allow us to consolidate everything and be more efficient and be ready for the next big push. Our customers and employees are happy with Robert. Would you go there? Is going to take over, so it's not going to be sold to somebody outside the area. We're keeping it in the family. We're very firm on that. I mean, I get offers once a month for someone who wants to buy it or something, and we always say no, we're not interested in that.
Okay. Is there any
So,
questions for Dave?
questions?
I just want to make one comment. When myself and Eric toured your building, I was extremely impressed by the quality, how cleanliness, how great it was, and how hopeful this is for expansion. I'm very excited and I fully support this.
Well, thank you. We worked very hard at that. We're in a position now that people come to us to look for work. We have a really good reputation in the county, in the community. We do a lot of investing. We've invested over $4 million in the last 5 years in equipment. And there's no question that when we're done, it will be the most modern machine shop, injection molding setup, certainly in the county, and probably very, in the top 10 in Western Massachusetts.
Just a note to the other board members, we've done this for other businesses in the past, so. Okay, I'll open up to any other questions.
I have just a quick question. Has this been reviewed by town council?
It has not, but I've only gotten the revised
I just said
version.
today. I just
Today.
got comments back from Massachusetts Office of Business Development today.
Yeah.
So yeah, you absolutely need to do that.
But on the record, I totally support this. I just want to make sure we get it reviewed by town council.
Just point out that no matter what we do, eventually, this will have to go to the town meeting for approval.
That's what I.
Now, I think the next scheduled town meeting is the first week in May. That's traditionally when we would do it. And yeah, I'm certain, and I agree with the rest of the board, we are fully supportive of this. We have supported this type of funding and expansion with other businesses, the stationery factory over there, John Kelly and his package store. So we're somewhat familiar with it, and yeah, it would be reviewed by the attorneys as part of it, or an article on the town meeting warrant. And I don't know if it's expected that we vote on anything tonight, but I think it has solid support. Mr. Town Manager, do you think we should vote that we recommend this? To get the process started?
I mean, one option would be for you to vote to recommend this to town meeting pending review by town council. That's probably the cleanest way to do it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we,
Wait a minute. Sure.
well, let me give you the discussion.
Oh, yeah, okay, fine.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we support this application and recommend it be reviewed by our town attorneys, our town manager, and the redevelopment commission, who have been heavily involved in this since day one, 5 or 6 years ago. We started this day pre-COVID, remember?
Yes.
You were all set to go. Now the project's dead. The project's almost 50% bigger. We're talking 20,000 square feet then. Now you- Anyway,
Just put on
motion.
30,000.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just have some questions. I'm fully supportive. It's a great story. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad you're local. That's even the icing on the cake. But just for my own reference, it's a $5 million project. How many square feet? Just for
30,000 square feet.
30,000, okay. I just wanted to know that. And in terms of the increments and the jobs, I'm assuming you've been conservative in
Yes.
terms of 5, and hopefully at least that.
Yes.
And last question I have, it'll be complete, I look at your increments here, by July of 27, I take it? Is there a
Yes.
completion date? So
We
that's
were
when the increments.
thinking that we could maybe get it completed this year, but the process of going through permitting and that stuff, I think, is probably realistically longer than I was thinking, so it may spill into the first or second quarter of 2027 to be completed, that's correct.
I'm just saying for the attorney to review, there should be sort of an elastic clause in there, given the uncertainty of completion. So the increments will be accordingly based upon the completion date.
Correct.
Okay. And the last thing, again, point of reference, I see in terms of your manufacture, close to 33% is sold outside of Massachusetts. And how are tariffs affecting you? I'm just curious.
Actually, tariffs, in a sense, tariffs are probably going to be a net plus for us. We get very little raw materials, essentially no raw materials from outside the country. So we're not paying a tariff to operate. And because of tariffs, we are seeing, at Cinecon and the industry is seeing a measurable amount of reshoring. People that are making things out of the country that are going to be subjected to tariffs, so they're bringing that production back to this country. And we have 2 or 3 projects right now that are because of that factor. So that, I think that in that sense, now, the negative could be that some of our customers that are outside of Massachusetts may have to pay a tariff to get their stuff. But I don't think that's going to be a huge impact.
No, I'm just noting that 33% is sold outside of the country.
And that's a big deal. That's a very big deal to Massachusetts in terms of their economic development programs. And most of it, how much of it is sold outside of Massachusetts? Like 80%?
Almost 80%.
80% of what we do goes out of Massachusetts. So that means as the money comes in, economics 101, that's how you grow the pie. You bring outside money into a community, and that makes the community grow. And so not only are we doing that because 80% is outside Massachusetts, but 30% is outside the country. So that's a double plus there.
Thank you. Good luck.
Dave, obviously you had the full support of the Selectboard, and you had the full support of the redevelopment authority. But have you approached this to the Conservation Commission yet? Because I know there's a teeny tiny issue, or there was with it.
Well, we're working with the town manager and Bud, and we're going to try to address that. And we have to go before. I mean, that is I don't want to say a hurdle, but that's a gate we have to get through.
Yeah.
It's
important. I
I
know there was a
have
minor
a
issue
drawing that
before.
shows that the current layout that we've come up with doesn't affect any critical areas. But we have to, that has to be finalized, and it has to also go over to Springfield, so that's a hurdle. but, you know, the more support we have from the town, I think that's always helpful.
And, boards, you are allowed to do this by right, or
That's my
simply a building
yes,
permit. You don't require a special permit to the Board of Appeals or the planning boards as such.
That's correct. That's all I said. We never did it before, so unless there has been some change over the last
Yeah, it's gonna-
10, 12 years, then it's a by right use of
I
that.
think you'll have all the support of the boards and the townspeople. I mean, this is the biggest economic development that's been forthcoming with Dalton in, I don't know how long. It's been-
Well, I know that when we first moved into the building, it was the biggest one in quite a while, and this is several times larger than that.
Okay, hey, you have our best wishes, the town manager. is
So Mayor, it's been great already.
Yeah.
We communicate back and forth, so I told people that since the time I moved here, Dalton's been very supportive. We haven't had any issues, and we helped each other, so it's been a good relationship.
We appreciate you doing this, David, it's really great.
We appreciate you bringing those businesses from Lennox and Pittsfield to Dalton. I mean, it means a lot to the town. We have a lot of vacant business fronts in town now. A lot of them are turning around, but we still have a lot of issues. And this is certainly helpful to the economy in town.
Yeah, I think that we'll be the second largest private employer in Dalton behind Crown.
I'm pretty sure that number is correct. They will be. I think combined, the town and school combined, so there are technically more public employees than Cinecon. But as far as private employers, they will be the second largest.
It's huge.
All right, well, thank you all for your support. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And if anybody, you know, okay, anybody wants to come and take a tour, just to be familiar with it and wrap your head around it, just give us a call. We'd be happy to do that.
Eric,
In a half hour or so, you probably can walk through the whole thing and get a kind of a nice picture of what we're doing and how we do it.
thanks again, David.
Thank you so much.
Eric, would you want us to sign this tonight?
You gonna move the vote, John?
You probably want your attorney to review it.
Yeah, we want-
No, I don't have it.
No, I'm not signing. We gotta sign, we gotta vote, and then,
Okay.
we're not gonna sign it to the attorney anymore.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, at the close of the meeting, we have some plans back here. It'd be nice, I asked for easel, but it didn't have a thing to put it up. They're floppy, so he was.
Sorry about that.
But we can wait around and
We'll leave
show
it
you
back
some
there.
plans and walk you through it.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Will we open this license board?
Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
I just did.
Okay.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to open the licensing board. All in favor? Opposed? Okay,
We have, oh,
we are open. Eric, do you want to speak on this, or do you want?
Nope.
I think, Bob, what we have to do here, I mean, we can, this is ours, and I'll take it and review it and comment on the future, but right now, I think it's important that we set a date. So Lipton, this is regarding Lipton Mart and their application for a beer and wine off-premise license on their new project down at the former Mobile Station, which is, if you've drove by there, you'll note it's under construction. And they've applied for a beer and wine off-premise license.
Oh, yeah. Their attorney's Mr. Egan, and he's on Zoom. And,
Yeah.
Mr. Egan, would you like to say anything about this?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry I'm not there personally, sure, quite frankly, the town office is being closed if this is going to take place, but what I've been and what I'm on, thanks for a few minutes. I just wanted to echo what was repeated in February 2024. Lipton Properties bought 630 Main Street from Darren Miller. You have before you an application for a so-called Section 15 off premises beer and wine license application from Liquid Inc., doing business as Liquid Mart. They, as was said, are under construction of approximately 2,957 square foot convenience store, 8 refueling tanks. And the plan there is to have walk-in cooler, self-service, 2 display case, and maybe a door or 2 to make display for beer and wine. But as you'll see on if you look at the floor plan that was submitted with the application, a very small percentage of the overall floor plan will be consist of retail sales of wine and beer. And there's a couple of additional points for the board. Liquid Inc. has got experience, business experience over beer and wine license, 2 of their locations, Pittsfield on North and South Street, sell beer and wine, as well as their location in Lee and 1 in Greenfield. So they're very experienced, haven't had any issues with the ABCC, and the initial manager on this license should be issued by this board will be Mike Lipton, president of Lipton Inc. So with that, I will pause, and if the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Egan?
I do. Mr. Egan, thank you for being here this evening. I just want to be clear, there's a mortgage of some $2,800,000 to construct this, if I'm reading this right?
Yes, Lipton, the affiliated companies are investing several $1 million in the town of Dalton. So yes, that mortgage represents the development of that site.
Okay, thank you for that. And I see there's going to be slots for 8 vehicles in terms of refueling?
Yes, 8 refueling pumps.
All right. And if I'm reading parking spots, there's going to be 1 handicap, and the remaining spots will number 4 for parking other than for refueling?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, Mr. Beck, you like that you.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
When you look at the plan in the rear of the
Yep,
building,
I see that.
In the back.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces in the rear of the building.
Yep.
1 handicap and 4.
So that's not dedicated to employees or loading, that's additional parking?
Sorry, I didn't talk about you. Some of those in the rear will be dedicated to employee parking. There most likely won't be 6 employees on at a given time. So those would be available. We got the 8 fueling pumps, as you said, the 1 handicap and the 4 other spots up front. That's accurate.
Okay, all right. And I just had a question. I know we saw each other at the, I think it was a zoning special appeals committee, and my question was drainage, and that was dealt with in terms of storm water. But in terms of this abuts to the housing project there, and again, I'm looking at the map, there'll be a fence and shrubbery along the perimeter?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's, as you said, look at the plan, there is fence and some screening there, and, we've been in contact with the owners of the apartments, granted them a license for their sign, and so yeah, we're happy to be being located in town, happy to be improving the site, including with screening and fence.
Okay. And last question, in terms of hours of operation, could you enlighten me in terms of what you project those hours to be?
That is a good question, and I don't believe I have the answer to it, but I will certainly get that for you in time for the hearing in a couple of weeks. So that is when.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Egan?
Did you,
Go ahead, Ted.
I was just gonna say, anybody got a calendar?
I don't, John.
I won't have my phone with
You got a calendar? Yeah, we're trying to find a date that fits all here. and leave time for you to notify all the butters in writing, so. Our thinking is sometime in mid-February.
The application, believe that, Ms. Whitney, to confirm it, but I believe, those notifications, that publication has been started.
Okay.
So I believe, subject to, their confirmation that
Monday,
should the board wish
just a
to
second.
set a hearing for 2 weeks, that
So the 9th and the 16th?
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you, Lori.
Yes.
Okay, I believe, we were looking at February 23rd as the proposed hearing date.
Is that good for you, Mr. Egan?
we just look very quickly.
Monday?
February 23rd?
Yep.
Yes, that'll work.
Okay, 7:15?
Yes.
Okay.
That's, we gotta advertise on the,
Okay.
we have to,
Make
or
a-
you have to advertise it.
Make a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we schedule a application hearing for a beer and wine license for Lipton Mart for Monday, February 23rd, 7:15 PM.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's what the hearing will be.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the license board.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We gotta open, we gotta reopen.
As license board?
No, reopen is regular business.
Oh.
All right, we'll just go.
I don't
Okay.
think, I just,
Okay.
okay. All right, where are we? General correspondence.
No, we are at number 9. Use a specialized appraiser for
Oh.
BCC and other gravel yards in Dalton.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Chair, Bob. In following up from a discussion we had earlier in December, it was noted that the 275-acre parcel that BCC pays approximately $42,000 inclusive of fire district taxes. And the thought was that, in fact, is for the parcel itself, but not for the mineral rights below. So I've talked to Lee, our assessor, and he's followed up with a gentleman whom I spoke with earlier in the fall. And if there was an assessment or appraisal of this for the mineral rights below, there are 2 pieces of information that are required. And he's communicated this to Lee. I've passed it on to Eric, so Eric, please correct me if I'm not here. I've also passed it on to Yanko and to Zach, the chair of the planning board. But they require to know what the production is from BCC in terms of truckloads, and whether it's per week or per month or per year, but they need to know just how much is being removed. And the second question is how much aggregate is remaining, that is the remaining life of the mine. And if those 2 questions can be answered, and that would be put by the planning board to BCC, and it's recommended by this appraiser, Mr. Worthesian, that is part of the application process, special permitting. If those 2 questions can be answered, he would estimate that if an appraisal was to be done, and this would involve his expertise as an appraiser and a geologist in the areas he's certified, it would be in the area of $12,500 to $15,000. Take about 6 weeks' time to do. This wouldn't be specific to BCC. It would also include, I believe, the only other gravel operation up on Old Windsor Road there, Mr. Nichols. So in any event, that's where we stand, and I'd recommend that we go forward with this, put this to the Finance Committee, and if indeed those 2 questions are asked, and I hope they would be, if taking his recommendation, it should be part of the special permitting process. Once that's in place, we can then request services, and of course, we'll look at other bids, but it is very specialized, so it's a pretty hard number, 12,500 to 15,000. So I don't know if I'd make a formal motion to that effect, or discussion, Bob, or it makes sense?
How do we look to fund this prior to the prior to the annual town meeting?
Well, it should be, John, I would say, I mean, this is an expense that's gonna hopefully pay for itself. Yes, to answer your question, but again, it's contingent upon those two questions being answered, and whether Yanko or the planning board chair gets those answers, then that really is the catalyst to move forward.
Let's get the answers and then we'll appropriate the money, okay?
Okay.
Leave it up to Eric to get the answers and
Okay.
decide the best way to, if
Fund it, yep.
if we want to fund this immediately, the best way to do it, free cash or a reserve fund.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
we can not just do it. Let's get the answers
Yep.
first,
All right.
okay?
Sounds good.
All right, you good?
Yep.
Okay, general correspondence. Eric?
So I put several things in the back of your packet. So you should, that are listed conveniently as general correspondence. The first is a memo from myself to Bud Hall, authorizing him to overexpend the snow and ice removal budget. So I'm giving that to you as an FYI. Obviously, we know we've had a ton of very small snow events, but all the all the small events still need to get plowed. So we're going through our sand or our salt budget pretty rapidly. We just refilled the bins, and Bud is hoping to make it through this season with salt on hand. But we're going to need to spend somewhat more on both salt as well as labor. So I'm informing you of this. And also, unfortunately, at the rate we're going to end the year with empty salt sheds. So we have to take that into account for next year's budget appropriation.
Yeah, it's been a crazy winter so far. Okay, thank you.
And there's a couple other items. You all know about the closure on East Housatonic. I gave you back the MassDOT recommended traffic details for that, which is basically what we have in place now.
Eric, partially because I live up there, and I'm well aware of the heavy traffic, both vehicular and truck traffic.
Yep.
And that barricade you guys put up, great barricade. But I honestly believe you need to attach some kind of a blinking lights or lights to it.
I know Bud has been pricing out the flashing stop
Yeah.
signs to,
Something, 'cause
in
it's-
part to address that.
Now the streets have gotten narrow because of the snow and everything. It's an issue up there. And someone familiar with the DOT's Division of Bridges, I think we're in for a long haul wait. I mean, we're going to be waiting till this spring just so they can take a look at it. But in actually doing something about it, it could be years, could be decades.
So we have some preliminary info back from the Mass DOT. The good news is the substructure is still fine. Not new, of course, it's a 1944 bridge, but it's still a 6 structurally. There are some suggestions for correcting some of the structural deficiencies in it, but they're not extreme. The bridge deck itself is overall sound. So that means we're looking at a repair situation, not a deck replacement situation, which is good and bad. I mean, the good being it's something that can presumably be done faster and a lot less costly. The bad news is it's not something that they're going to pay for. So we as Dalton are going to pay for that.
Really?
But it's
I
not.
thought I was under the impression that if a bridge was more than 20 feet, it was the state's responsibility.
It is if it becomes structurally deficient and it's approved into the federal local bridge program, my understanding is Massachusetts will take that on as a project. But that's not the case here because it doesn't need to be replaced. And the bridge deck doesn't even need to be replaced. The bridge deck needs to be repaired. So as far as I can tell, we're on our own for that one. But it's not a hugely expensive repair.
That's good news.
What not hugely expensive actually turns out to be, I can't tell you at this point until we get further evaluation.
Right.
But that's so the goal would be to attempt a repair, this summer, once we get full evaluation from MassDOT, with the intention of reopening it to 2-lane traffic, as quickly as possible. But we're not gonna fully know until spring, and we get a final underside evaluation by MassDOT, and they can't do it with the river in its existing condition.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. And you want to speak on the last item in there, Eric?
I don't know whether you care, but
No.
as a town administrator and you as a municipal official, whenever a charter makes changes to the programming available to the town of Dalton, you get notified.
Okay.
So no more Kid Street television on channel 245
Oh, darn it.
and a few
Watch
others.
it all.
Hey, that's my favorite.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Okay, number 11, Clean Air Committee update.
Okay, Clean Air, we met last week, we welcomed Jimbo on board. He's in for Nancy. We approved the complaint form with input, or finalized it with input from Eric, so we do have a formal complaint form, and again, I'd hope that's posted on our website at some juncture, and people would call in regarding air or noise for that matter, because it addresses both. As I said earlier, last time we met, we did receive the grant. We have the 5 purple air monitors in hand. I met with Jeff. The weather has not been good. I met with Richard. We're going to hopefully place one at Richard Hall's home, one here at the senior center, one at Pine Grove Manor, and I have yet to contact the schools for placement at Wacona and Craneville. So that's in the offing. Hopefully the weather will be better. DEP is still reviewing the BCC project. DOT also will be reviewing an application in terms of BCC operations here in our community. We've also come up or are looking for bids in terms of the collection of data and a report for the 4 sensors we have now through Air Partners. That will conclude in July. They'll have a report for us at that point. These 5 sensors also, we'd like to have also data collection and a report from a third party. We're asking Air Partners to submit a bid there, and hopefully Berkshire Environmental. The cost will be approximately $27,000 plus or minus for a 1-year term for both the 4 in place and the 5 yet to be placed, but hopefully shortly for a year's period. So we'll get that number to Eric and see how we proceed there in terms of the budget. Let's see, new date. Yeah, okay. One thing I'd want to point out that we talked about, our mission is both protection, safety of our community in regards to air and noise. And we have 2 regulatory boards, the Planning and the Health Board, and Eric's aware, and I think other members on the board, we received a complaint here in Dalton regarding chainsaw use. And sure enough, if you go to the bylaws, we have an extensive overreaching bylaw regarding noise pollution. I've been in violation of it several times, every time I use a chainsaw.
Really?
Yep, we should have a noise control officer. We're supposed to have machinery that's calibrated regularly and someone to use that machinery. I think that the decibel level is 85, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And a chainsaw is well over 100. So I guess what I'm saying here is, and I don't know if this is the juncture, but we may want to ask someone, maybe our attorney, through KP to review the bylaws for these two regulatory boards to bring them up to speed and to make them aligned with what's really going on in our community. But I'd ask people to go to the bylaw regarding noise. It's truly overwhelming and just not applicable, not enforceable. But in any event, that's the only thing I have to say. And I broached that at our last meeting to some
Okay.
extent, and I wanted to broach it here.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the town did go at one of the public meetings, there was a proposed bylaw change to make the noise regulation less restrictive, but that was tabled. So while I agree that the existing regulation makes it impossible to do some fairly common construction activities, even if you're doing it in the middle of the day. I mean, I think we would all agree that if you're out at 2 o'clock in the morning with a chainsaw,
Yeah,
you know, you probably have no business doing that. But if you're doing ordinary tree cutting operations anywhere near the property boundary, a chainsaw is typically between 110 and 120 decibels during operation, it will be over the line at the property boundary. But I also think you have to have a reasonable amount of discretion in enforcement. So I do agree that that's something that we should review because the current regulation, frankly, is not practicable. And I do think we need a better mechanism for enforcement. I will bring back to the board some ideas I have about that, but that's still subject to negotiation at this point.
Okay, thank you for the update. You all set, Tony?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, town manager update.
Okay, so it continues to be a busy month in the town. I would like to publicly thank Public Works for their efforts on snow removal this last storm. I was driving around both last night and this morning. Overall, I think they did an excellent job of staying up with the snow and clearing the roads and keeping everything passable. And to me, that's a big public safety concern, so I appreciate the fact that they maintained that. As you know, we talked about my signing the allowance for them to exceed their budget, so I won't go into that again. I did give the board a revised draft of the personnel policy based on the feedback. We were going to discuss that this meeting. I think it's appropriate to hold off on that. To discuss that, I did get grieved by both police unions over the proposal to change to biweekly payroll. So we will need to address that before final approval of the personnel policy. So we'll address that in the coming weeks.
May I interrupt, Eric?
Sure.
I understand it's a union issue, it's grievable, but does that preclude us going forward with the non-union personnel?
I don't think it would actually do any good because we're not going to be capable of doing biweekly payroll for everybody and weekly payroll for one entity. So we're going to have to, and we're going to have to address it fairly quickly because that does have some fairly significant financial implications, and given the dire straits we're in, that needs to be addressed. So, working on that. So I've been working with the town planner as well as the chair of the planning board on the district local technical assistance grant. I think I've talked to the board before. That grant has been submitted, and I've been told verbally that it has been approved. I don't have written version back yet, but I have no doubt that it would. We have another grant application in with BPRC for a culvert evaluation. This is one where they're actually the ones submitting the grant. I'm bringing it back to the board just to inform you. It does not cost the town anything, and ultimately what it does is it gets us a physical evaluation of all our existing under-road culverts. We've had some back and forth with them. I would have preferred that the ones that they physically decide are the worst, they include in the proposal to have an actual engineer do a structural culvert rating, but they have no interest in doing that. So I think we'll still get something out of it, and we don't have to pay for it. So I'm proceeding with that.
Good.
As you all know, the Capital Planning Committee is now approved. The first meeting is 6 p.m. Thursday, the 29th. I've given them quite a bit of information to mull over. I think the first thing they're going to have to do is figure out what they want for a structure, elect a chairman, elect a vice chairman, and then proceed. So I'm looking forward to getting that up and running.
I was under the impression that you had the authority to appoint at least 5 members of this commission, subject to select board ratification. And I haven't seen any appointments in this regard.
I gave you all the appointments at the last meeting.
Yeah, again, what we told them last meeting.
Oh, I was out of town.
You see what happens when you go on vacation?
Yeah.
We'll go again, see what else.
Well, good thing I asked, because I didn't know.
This is why you gotta be here, buddy.
Yes, no more vacations.
No more
Oh.
vacation for you.
Okay, that commission is gonna have a lot of work cut out for it. I mean, we have a lot of structural issues we have to deal with. Obviously, the street scan results, both for sidewalks and the roads itself, is pretty grim. So that's gonna be a big capital need going forward. I did request from the water district and was given their capital plan. And I'm well aware that the town is not directly responsible for the water district, but ultimately it affects what Dalton residents pay, so we have to factor into that with our capital plans too. Looking at it, there appears to be somewhere about $11 million in priority replacement of water mains throughout the town of Dalton. So that's a big hit. And looking back at the categorization of pipes, the oldest pipes in town now are roughly 130 years old. So, and they range from 130 to about 10 years old. And there's an awful lot in the 80 to 90 year category. So there's a significant portion of the water that is going to need replacement going forward. So that's something we all need to be aware of. I suspect if you look at the results from the sewer, we're going to find very much the same thing.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So we're going to have a pretty significant backlog, you know, between those three, and those are going to have to be coordinated because obviously if we're ripping up a road, we need to be considering the needs for the water district as well as our own sewer issues whenever we're working on roads.
Eric, is this committee going to be strictly limited to dealing with the expense and outlays regarding infrastructure?
So I think they're going to have to to some extent, figure out what their own mandate is. What I have proposed to that committee is that there are two main things that are germane. The first is, what are the overall capital needs, and a 5-year plan of what all the capital deficiencies are in the town, and then a prioritization to understand what's the biggest priority, what's the second, what's the third, etc. And then that group will also, by the bylaw, evaluate each capital project that is brought forward, you know, for funding. So they have kind of the overarching development of a capital plan that includes everything. And then on the backside is approving individual capital items that come up for a vote, are going to be recommended to the boards of selectmen and finance to be included in that year's budget.
So, if the funds are being proposed to be appropriated at an annual town meeting for a special or a certain infrastructure issue, it would not only require the select board's approval and the finance committee's approval, but this committee's approval too.
This committee is only an advisory committee.
Yes.
They have no statutory authority to approve or reject. Their goal is to get you and the Board of Finance information to make informed decisions about what the priorities should be. You can ignore them completely. I would suggest you don't, but you certainly could. But their goal is to get you the information. They're not a decision-making body. They recommend decisions to the other bodies.
And just one final comment. Can I ask your office to send me out by email a copy of who's on this committee?
Sure.
Because I missed it while I was on vacation. I
Sure.
wasn't aware of that. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Eric?
Yeah, just a couple little quick things. So February 11th from 4 to 5 at the Dalton Library, I'm going to do another open house and listening session. Anybody who wants to come talk to me, feel free to stop by and tell me what's on your mind. I would probably do a question and answer session on the budget at that time for the public, because I would have already given the Board of Selectmen, a preliminary budget anyway. So I did get a request from the Democratic Town Committee to attend one of their meetings and introduce myself. I agreed to that. I will make the same offer to the Republican Town Committee Chairman if I can figure out who it is. Because I honestly don't know, and I haven't, in doing a little bit of research, I couldn't figure it out. So I got a meeting or a question in to Heather so I can, because I'm assuming she probably knows that information. So I did attend, myself and Tony attended the annual Mass Municipal Association Conference, and I thought from my end it was very productive. I learned quite a bit, and I came back with a list of vendors I want to start talking to about various aspects of town government and how we can streamline things and make them more efficient, as well as a bunch of other ideas. So I think it was a worthwhile endeavor, even though Boston is, funny enough, a lot farther away from where I live now than where I used to live. But that's neither here nor there. Budget season's in full swing. We have most of the reports from the department head. I should have the rest within the next couple days. The really good news that we received was that the range of potential increases from our healthcare costs, they've given us a much narrower range, and it's a lot lower than we were initially anticipating, so that is good. The reason basically is the insurance company made a decision that they would not provide GLP-1 drugs for weight loss moving forward. One, due to the cost, and two, due to the concern that the information so far seems to be that once you put yourselves on those drugs, you are essentially on for life. So it's an extended, long-going, people, they initially thought, somebody could get initial large weight loss and then maintain without the drug, and that's not appearing to be the case. Pretty much everybody who discontinues use of the drug goes back to their original set point weight. So we should know within the next 2 to 3 weeks what our actual premium rates for healthcare, because that's a big a big factor in our budget, so that will be good. And that's pretty much all I have. I've already made it clear to all of you that we are going to have to do some significant work to stay under the Prop 2.5 cap in this year's budget, unless the boards of selectmen or finance are considering an override. We're going to have to make some very hard decisions as a town. I mean, I will certainly give you my recommendations, but ultimately it's up to you and the Board of Finance what our priorities are and what we're willing to fund and not fund. But it's not going to be easy. And the mill rate in Dalton is already one of the highest in the Berkshires. So, so there are very definite limitations on where we can go with this.
Okay.
So just giving you a heads up that it's going to be difficult.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all your work. Okay, future agenda items. Any?
Yes, I do. And I failed probably, Bob, to bring this to your attention when you set the agenda, but I was hoping that we discussed the remaining opening on the Police Facility Advisory Committee in
Okay.
terms of filling that. So if that could be on the agenda in the future.
It would be nice if that committee could come to us with a recommendation of who they would like to put on that committee.
Oh,
Sorry, you mean,
Well,
I think that's not a good idea, considering I feel as though the committee has caused a lot of their own problems. So taking their recommendation for a new member would only compound the problems of that committee.
I was thinking, Bob, we have a discussion and open it up for applicants who wish,
Okay.
of interest to submit, and then through
Okay.
Eric, and then for our approval.
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
But I'm saying for a future agenda item.
Okay.
And the other thing is, I know in executive session, we discussed the ABC letter. Should that be a future agenda item or items not anticipated?
No, neither.
Neither.
Neither, at this point, no.
Okay, all right. Then that, just one last thing. No, I won't bring that up now. No, I'll wait.
Okay.
I'll wait.
Okay, items not anticipated 48 hours before the meeting. Any? Remarks of the select board.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see no problem.
Go ahead, John.
I think through the efforts of our administrative assistant, Lori, a appreciation brunch was held last Saturday for all the volunteers that serve on the various committees. And because we were breathing down the mouth of a large storm of the century, I think it somewhat limited participation, but it was a very good turnout anyway, regardless. And I think everyone had a great time. The volunteers and the various committees appreciated us acknowledging their efforts on behalf of the town. And it's an event that we just started. I think last year was the first year we did this.
Well, we've done it before.
We have?
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope we continue in the future to have this tradition.
Okay,
I just have something.
Go ahead,
a few
Tony.
things. I want to echo Eric's remarks that I thought it was a very informative, substantial meeting. It was entitled Connect 351, 351 being the number of communities or municipalities in our state. 3 days, 2 nights, a number of workshops, and I found the workshop identifying our fiscal future more than informative. Before I get to that, though, that they awarded prizes or awards for communities in various sizes regarding annual reports and also websites. And I know we have a website RFP going out, and it may behoove us to look at, I think Maynard was the one that struck me in terms of one that we may copy. But in any event, MMA has that information in terms of websites that they think are heads and shoulder above many of the others. The theme pretty much spoke about accelerating growth in our state. And it wasn't surprising to me to find out that the immigrant population in this state is less than 50% of what it was last year, and that is going to impact the economics of our state in terms of revenues. We're also losing $3 billion, not a surprise, of federal revenue, and that will be impacting principally healthcare costs and also food and nutrition programs. This year, tax collections appear to be somewhat flat, but in the positive at 2%, and that's pretty much what the state will be looking to return to us. The outlook in the budget, some of the better news is that there'll be very limited discretionary spending. However, school spending for Chapter 70 will be above from last year. The Student Opportunity Act will be funded. Chapter 90 will increase. Rural aid will increase to schools. Regional school transportation will increase also. And the special circuit breaker money for special needs will also increase. To what extent that will impact Central Berkshire is yet to be seen, but those are all positive signs in terms of our school budget, which is 60% of our budget. They mentioned tools for local government, and pretty much the tools are increasing our meals tax, our lodging tax, our short-term rental. And those aren't applicable to Dalton at all. So we don't have many of the tools that larger communities may have at their disposal. We don't have a vibrant economy in the western end of the state that's being realized, and we've been giving somewhat more monies towards that end. But pretty much 2.5 is under siege. If no one said it, for rural communities, 2.5 is not a mechanism that's workable. Given inflation that's gone on, it's been 20 years if you look back before the recession, and in terms of state aid, all communities have received just about less than 1% of an increase after inflation. So we have a state here that's given us a mechanism to limit taxes, but has not provided the state revenue accordingly. In the future, I'd like to provide some DOR data, which I mentioned to my colleagues earlier, in terms of where Dalton sits among the 34 towns in Berkshire County. That is pretty much it for me. We did meet with the Conservation Committee. I thought that went as well as it could. I think the one point that we agreed on, that metering would in fact impact conservation positively. So we'll see what the fire district does in that regard, but I hope they'll pick up the mantle. I did speak to Ricardo Morales, I think that's his name, the gentleman in charge of Pittsfield. And it was mentioned that Pittsfield, you have the opportunity to meter or not. And basically he said that those people that do choose to meter are pretty much paying half of what the rate is in terms of non-metered. In Dalton, I calculated that when they base it on toilets, that I would be paying a sewer bill in the neighborhood of $860 for 3 toilets. So again, there's a lot of nuance here, but even Mr. Morales is hoping that Pittsfield moves to a metered system. But again, that's not our purview per se, but more the district. But there's a lot of facts there. And that's it from me, Bob.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none. Leads to our announcements. The Dalton Police Department is reminding its citizens of the winning parking ban in effect through April 15th, 2026, between the hours of 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. During the time, there'll be no parking allowed on the streets. The ADA and the Green Dalton committees are looking for volunteers. Please visit the town website for more information. The town of Dalton currently has the following employment opportunities. Was the recording secretary off now?
No, we're still looking to hire one additional one.
Okay.
So we have a little more universal coverage.
Town accountant and emergency management director. Please visit the town website or contact the town manager's office for more information. Dalton's official meeting postings, agendas, and minutes can be viewed at mytowngovernment.org/01226. The next meeting, a special meeting of the Selectboard, is scheduled to take place on Monday, February 2nd, 2026, at 7 p.m. at the Dalton Senior Center with an option for remote participation. With that, I call for an adjournment.
You didn't know, Bob, that the next meeting will be held on Groundhog's Day.
You better not see your
With
shadow.
Hey, every time.
Oh,
I move we adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Dalton.